You are listening to Know You're Crazy. My name is Susan Denee. We all have crazy. What separates us is how we choose to deal with it. I'm going to be delivering engaging and actionable tools to own your crazy, treat your crazy, and turn it into your own superpower. I hope that you walk away from this show feeling the power and strength within you. And never forget to enjoy your journey because you are worth it. Welcome to the Know You're Crazy talk show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. Today's topic is the 8 aspects of appreciation. I recently was inspired to talk on appreciation. You know, I get coaching clients, and coaching clients, good coaching clients, are clients that are inspiring to me. Clients who are willing to do the work that's necessary to elevate their life, plus the life that they have with others. These particular clients of mine have been working with me for a while, and I just find so much good stuff when we're working together. Appreciation came up. You know, those 4 key areas of life. We have our health, we have our career, we have our finances. In my opinion, the most important one out of these is relationships. We have our relationships, how we value the relationships in our life, how we love the relationships in our life. How do we learn not to take advantage of the relationships in our life? What happens when you are in a partnership, in a relationship, a marriage with someone for many years? Then suddenly you kind of get a little bit maybe bored, or, the same pizzazz isn't happening. As much as we can say, oh, just ignite the relationship, start doing fun stuff together. As most of you know, pulling out of relationship habits can be challenging. The key to that is being able to look within individually to find out, what can I give more to the relationship versus what am I expecting to take from the relationship? Appreciation falls into this category. One of the blessings that I have in my life is I am in a loving relationship where we both practice appreciation for one another. A simple thank you is one way to show appreciation for someone in your life. It could be a coworker, it could be a parent, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it is your partner, maybe it's your child. But can you, or have you, said thank you recently? Now, thank you falls more into that category of gratitude, where I'm talking about appreciation, all playing on the same team. However, appreciation falls more in alignment with the current feeling of enjoyment, the current feeling of satisfaction. For example, if you live with someone and that someone consistently does something like takes the trash out, like you never have to take the trash out. They always take the trash out. They have the trash out every Thursday for trash day. You can, after the moment, come to them and think, oh, I'm just so grateful you always take the trash out, right? And in hindsight, it all sounds good. But if you stop in the moment and you just pause in the presence of their action and feel the appreciation for someone who is taking something off your plate, for someone who is doing something that they don't expect a thank you for, and you fall into the presence of appreciation, then if you feel that as I say that, that is the difference between gratitude and appreciation. I will sit in my home pretty routinely in the mornings, and I will pause and appreciate what's going on around me, what I have in my life. The couple that I'm working with right now, one of the interesting things that they are walking through. I don't know if any of you have been in a recent relationship, and you get into the newness of it, and then you get into different phases of it. And one of those phases is you move in together, and you got this weird phase where your life is combining with someone else's life. I know for me personally, when my husband and I moved in together, we were combining homes, almost the Brady Bunch. For those of you who watched the Brady Bunch, we had 5 kids between us, 3 girls and 2 boys. We had no desire to make that a Brady Bunch, but between it, we were moving in 2 homes together. And there was a lot of bumpiness that went on there because I had my way and how I lived my life and how I parented my children. He had his way. He was walking away from a home that he had raised his boys in up to that point, and the boys had been there, and now they were combining into the home that me and the girls lived in. And so there was a lot of fluctuation. There was a lot of bumps in that process, a lot of grieving for them, a lot of anxiety for us is one moves into the other one's territory per se, and you work towards making this territory a combined effort for everyone involved. And over time, you start to, in the beginning of that, you might have resentment that builds up. They don't do it the way that you would do it. They leave the cereal bowl out and you wouldn't leave the cereal bowl out. They don't shut the lights off when they're supposed to shut the lights off. Maybe they don't take the trash out ever. And so you start micro managing or hyper focusing on what's not being done. And it's really quite a natural process to go through when you're combining lives or something even new enters into your world. We get kind of protective with under the roof stuff because that is our sacred space. That is where we want to be nourished. That is where we really want joy and relaxation is under the roof. So when 2 people combine their home and they live together and the hyper focus is on, because I think we kind of get scared, like our needs aren't going to get met. What if this happens, and we get into the future worrying, anticipating anxiety, wondering if it's really going to work out, or is this going to be a painful process? And as we get into that anticipated anxiety, or as we are figuring it out and stumbling over things and trying to watch what we say and yet be considerate of the other person, often what will happen is we will feel lonely and we will feel isolated in that journey. Although we feel like we shouldn't, we will feel that way because individually we are still emotionally and mentally processing the change. And what happens when we emotionally and mentally process changes on our own and as individuals is we might fall into a state of fear that it's not going to work out. And so we might even tiptoe a little more. It's so easy for us sometimes to lean more into what could go wrong versus stand strong in what is wonderful. The appreciation of having the ability to turn that is what I want to talk about today. Realizing that everyone that you choose in your life is there because you chose them, which hopefully means for you that they have more good than not. And being able to catch the negative hyper focus when it's happening and turn that around to a feeling of joy, a feeling of satisfaction, is living in the presence of appreciation. And so it's taking a step back and truly having a moment of reverence of how much you appreciate this person or this situation even, or this, maybe it's a professional situation, maybe it's a job, but really pausing and appreciating what that is bringing into your life, appreciating that it is still working for you. That's what I want to talk about today. I started talking about appreciation more and more and more when I started to develop my coaching platforms for my clients. And so one of the weekly sessions that I will take somebody through is around appreciation. And I go through these 8 aspects of appreciation to help somebody get an alignment and get into a alignment with joy, alignment with satisfaction, as they are joining in on this coaching journey with me. And so today, that's what I'm going to be taking you folks through, is exactly that. So first, I'm going to start out with, I'm going to be referring to my notes off and on here because I would hate to misspeak or not get it right. But first, I'm going to just focus on what is the definition of appreciation, because I'm not talking about gratitude, although gratitude I will be talking about that throughout towards the end of the show. But the definition of appreciation is the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. It is the full understanding of a situation. When we get into fear, or we get into judgment, or we get into criticism, we usually have taken a position of only looking at it through a filter of lack, a filter of it's not giving me what I want. And when we get into that state of mind, we have not fully embraced a full understanding of the situation. We have put on the visor of negativity. We have blocked out the joy and satisfaction of why we have brought this into our life, and we are not in a full understanding of the situation. So we have stepped away from appreciation. And so appreciation is literally a full understanding of the situation, a recognition and enjoyment of good qualities of someone or something. If you have somebody in your life right now that they are on your last nerve, you're wondering, why did I even get into this? Or they're driving me crazy. Is this marriage going to make it? Maybe you've been together for a long time. I simply will be asking you today to go through these 8 aspects of appreciation around that person. Maybe it's a professional situation for you, but to go through these 8 aspects of appreciation and apply them to that situation and find out if by the end of this show, or even if you want to go through the exercises after the show, if you feel better about that person or about that situation. Okay, so the first aspect of appreciation that I'm going to be diving into is the interpersonal appreciation. And, the 8 aspects of appreciation, in addition to the interpersonal, are going to be the present moment, the ritual, the self-social comparison, loss and adversity, the have focus, awe, and then lastly will be gratitude. Starting out with the interpersonal appreciation, this is literally the valuing and appreciating the other people in one's life, and expressing that to them. Okay, so valuing and appreciating the other people in your life and then expressing that to them. This is not gratitude, as one is not grateful to them for a particular benefit or act of kindness that they've given to you. Still, you are noticing and valuing their presence in your life, their positive qualities, and their fellowship that they have with you. And you are expressing that with them. Okay, so that is interpersonal appreciation. Interpersonal appreciation. That is simply doing what I've just been talking about for the last couple minutes, of taking notice of who is in your life, acknowledging the goodness within them, why you have asked them to be next to you in this life, whether that is professionally, whether that is personally, whether that's intimately, but literally pausing and looking at the relationship in your life and asking and telling and expressing to them how much you appreciate them. Asking yourself, what do I appreciate about them? Acknowledging it, and then expressing that to them. Okay. So we have another 7 aspects of appreciation that I will be walking you through for the rest of the show. In the meantime, though, I'm going to take a break. When we return, I will be covering, let's see, what's the next one that we're going to be talking about? The present moment aspect of appreciation. If you are wanting to contact me for whatever reason, you can reach out to me on my website at susandenee.com. Feel free to shoot me an email, or you can also message me on any of my social media platforms, also under Susan Denee. All right, we will be back shortly. everyone, welcome back to the Know You're Crazy Talk Show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. Today, I'm talking about the 8 aspects of appreciation. With appreciation just simply being the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. Appreciation is the full understanding of a situation, the full understanding of an individual to the best of our abilities. The very first appreciation aspect that I was talking about before I went to break was the interpersonal appreciation, which is simply the valuing and appreciating others in one's life, but then expressing that to them. Have you expressed to someone close to you recently how much you appreciate them? Have you taken notice about the little things that they kind of just automatically do, yet we sometimes take for granted when those things are done? I can think of my kids on this particular topic. You know, how often our children are actually doing quite well, kind, considerate, thinking of others, polite. Yet parents sometimes can get stuck in this trap of thinking and focusing on what the kid isn't doing enough of. I often, wonder, have we cherished and valued our children enough? Have we expressed our appreciation to them enough? I don't think I've met a child that couldn't use a little bit more encouragement and a little bit more appreciation yet. Can we ever really over appreciate our children? I don't know. Can we ever really over appreciate our grandkids? I don't know. I don't think so. And part about the interpersonal appreciation, it's not about being grateful that somebody has done something for you, past tense. It's about taking the moment and appreciating them for who they are right here, right now, and then adding that added expression to them by telling them that you are appreciative of them and that you appreciate their presence in your life. All right, so what would be next? So that's the first appreciation aspect. The next appreciation aspect is the ritual aspect. And the ritual aspect is using personal or religious rituals, routines, or practices to remind oneself to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of their life. I think what just popped in my head was, we've got the 2 different areas of the brain. We've got our amygdala, which you might be familiar with amygdala hijacking. We get into the fight or flight, and we're constantly in a worry, it'll trigger a worry state, a stressful state. We have our executive brain that's going to be more of the decisive, intellectual, I would say the more healthy consciousness that we might use. We're not in a fight or flight state, just the opposite of that. So ultimately, depending on how we ruminate on a regular basis, we might be prone to negative stories, especially when I'm kind of putting this topic today in the framework of relationships. What kind of negative storytelling can we get into about relationships in our life? Maybe it's that coworker that's just like nails down a chalkboard for you. You can't get past their character defects, and you're constantly in this state of imaginary conversations. You're constantly having your amygdala hijacked with stress and worry. You don't understand why they behave the way they do. Perhaps you're in a state of that under your own roof. Maybe you've been hyperly focused on that teenager that continues to behave in ways that you disagree with, and you don't think they should behave in that way. So you are constantly in a state of worry, judgment, criticism, telling them how to fix their stuff, telling them how to live their life. Perhaps you're the spouse who tells the other spouse how to live their life all the time. And there is a constant routine, a constant habit of taking somebody else's inventory. And you are in such a habit of this that the only thing that could break that habit to stop you from looking at the lack would be to implement a ritual of appreciation on a daily basis to put you in a mindset within a particular time frame of the day to practice appreciation. And so you'd be using your personal or your religious ritual or routine to remind yourself to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of your life. And I'm using relationships, but one of the rituals that I will have on a almost daily basis is I will practice gratitude because I think that's a fantastic tool, but I am more about practicing appreciation. So I will take time every morning, 5 to 10 minutes, and just sit in appreciation. I will think about the things, the people under my roof that are sleeping soundly. I will be appreciative of who they are. I will be appreciative of the roof over my head, the food in my belly. I will be appreciative of caretakers for my elderly mother right now, 1,500 miles away, and really be appreciative of the relationship that I have with my higher power, who I consider the solution to all my problems today, especially when I get sideways on something. But really being appreciative. I recently took a trip back to Nebraska to help care for that elderly mother, and my sister was also present. And based on the parallel lives we've lived over these last few years, as we've engaged in our elderly parents transitioning, one of them, and then the other one now going through a life circumstance that may or may not lead to transitioning, but together I have been so appreciative of the fact that I have a sister who can walk that path with me right now, who can share in those experiences, that I don't have to make all those decisions by myself, that I have somebody that I can bounce things off of, and I can have somebody that I can cry with, I can complain with, I can, do whatever that, it comes to the surface based on the mirage of emotions that we experience as we go through this now new kind of life experience over the last few years for both of us. Sometimes life experiences come out of nowhere is what it feels like. And when we don't have to go through those situations alone and by ourselves, have you been appreciative of that? Have you expressed that to the people who are in your life, who are walking side by side with you as you might be walking through some pretty tough stuff? And that, you can express that to them, but in that quiet time, in that daily routine, can you get quiet and really fall into an appreciation for the things that are going well in your life? We have to remind ourselves sometimes to get into that state of mind. Often we rush, we hurry. You guys have heard all this before, how life is today. But really, when we stop and we get present and we get mindful in the moment and we fall into a practice of appreciation, it puts us in a loving space. The definition that I read mentioned the word of enjoyment. It'll place us in a state of enjoyment so that we remind ourselves of what is important in life, Oh my goodness, my husband and I had a movie weekend. I was just sharing with one of the producers that it was just a movie weekend. And I thought to myself, isn't it funny how a movie can remind you of what's important? How a movie can bring you emotionally to your needs in a loving way. We watched that movie, What About Otto with Tom Hanks. It was a fantastic movie. And quite honestly, it was kind of out of our normal routine, because we also went and watched John Wick 4. That's more along the lines of what we watch. But you know what? Redbox gave us a free movie. So I got that movie and we watched it, and it was such a blessing to watch that movie, because it's a great reminder of being appreciative for the relationships in your life and what they bring to you, and how many times we will take for granted all the movements that somebody is doing for us, all the activities that someone is participating in on our behalf without being asked. It's a reminder of how important it is to still be in fellowship with individuals, to combine together, because we're all in this thing to enjoy. We're all in this thing to support one another. It's a fantastic movie for that reason, which kind of brings me to the next appreciation aspect, which is the third one on the list, and that is the self-social comparison. I will share with you, we do this really well in recovery. And so let me just read it for you. It's using comparison to a worse moment or circumstance in one's past to enhance appreciation of the present. Or one may compare one situation with that of others who are less fortunate to foster an appreciation for what one has. So the social comparison. If you're in recovery from addiction or alcoholism, this is kind of like, I wasn't where I was, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was. Looking back, when we reflect back in recovery and we're trying to help somebody else, we will often tell the story of what it was like and then what happened and what it's like now, because we are comparing what it was like, which was not real good. If you end up in a recovery meeting, life was not going well for you. But having that comparison of what it was like versus what it's like today, not only will it put us in a state of appreciation and sobriety, but it'll remind us why it is so important to stay on track, why it is so important to pay attention to that mental and emotional state in sobriety, because we don't want to lose what we've come so far to get. When we go into a meeting, or we meet, I'll just say AA meeting or recovery meeting, and you sit down and you see somebody come in for the first time and they are absolutely at their worst, they are rock bottom. They can't see beyond getting past that 60 minutes of a meeting. They're barely hanging on. There is a sense of appreciation, and there is a sense of comparison of, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. The cool thing about those of us in recovery who stick around for a while and actually do some work on ourselves is we get to turn around and help that individual. But there is an appreciation when we see that newcomer that we are not there anymore, that we have come far from that. You probably feel appreciation if you're downtown, especially in Seattle or for Portland for that matter, and you see homelessness and you see people who are living on the streets. You likely have a moment of appreciation that is not you. If you've lost everything and built it back up, whether that was through addiction, alcoholism, or financial, you will definitely have a moment of comparison and appreciation for where you're at. And that's okay. That's okay. All right, so when we come back, I will be diving into the next couple aspects of appreciation. If you are looking for a coach, or you would just like to touch base or have any feedback on the show, feel free to reach out to me. You can get me through my website at susandenee.com, or feel free to message me through any of my social media platforms at Susan Denee. Know You're Crazy. And I will be back here shortly. Everyone, welcome back to the Know You're Crazy talk show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. Today's show, I'm talking about the 8 aspects of appreciation. Appreciation simply being the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or a situation, a full understanding of a situation. I'm primarily focusing in appreciation around relationships. However, you can be appreciative of all kinds of things. You can be appreciative of situations. You can be appreciative of physical things, right? And so a few of the ones that I've gone over in the first part of the show is interpersonal appreciation, valuing and appreciating others in one's life, yet the main thing is expressing that to them. And not the same as gratitude, where you're asking or telling somebody you're grateful for something they did for you. It is simply a practice and presence of honoring who they are in your life and how they, give to you in life, but being appreciative of the moment. The other one is the present moment. The present moment with appreciation is really all about consisting of focusing on the positive elements of the present moment with mindfulness and awareness. Focusing attention on the positive in the present, or imbuing neutral elements with positive meaning. Countering the tendency to ruminate on the negative events of the past or worry about the future in ways that rob the relationship of the present. It kind of goes in line with what I was talking about in regards to the ritual of practicing a ritual of appreciation. The present moment is literally getting ourselves into a mindful practice of switching it up in the moment. I had briefly touched on a couple of coaching clients of mine where we were in the beginning of the show, and I was saying, when we join homes or we're in a new phase of a relationship, how often our ruminating can go in another direction because we're so scared of losing something, or we're so scared of something not turning out our way, or we anticipate anxiety because of somebody else's behavior. We start to tell a story that they're automatically going to behave like this. And when we start telling our story in our mind because we think somebody's behavior is predictable, we lose the ability to spot check that and become mindful and appreciative of who they are in the moment. And so the present moment aspect of appreciation is all about catching the negative rumination that we can find ourselves in about assuming we think we know how somebody's going to behave, which really kind of goes in alignment with high expectations. We have gotten ourselves into a mindset that we think we know how somebody's going to behave. I remember a few years back, my husband and I, we were in this heated, he would say conversation. I would describe it as argument. Whatever it was, I think we could both agree it was not pleasant. But we were in a heated conversation about something. I couldn't even tell you what it was. That's how important it was. But I remember saying to him that I didn't think he knew, or he wasn't being honest about what he truly meant about a statement. And he was saying to me, how can you say to me, you don't know what I'm thinking? And I honestly thought I did know what that man was thinking. I said, oh no, I think this is really what you mean. And so pretty soon we're going back and forth, where finally I caught myself. Because see, what was happening was I had a story I was telling myself that based on what he was saying, or based on what I thought his actions were, that I thought I knew what he was really trying to say. Have you ever been like that? Played the God role? Like you think you know what somebody's really saying underneath all that. They didn't say the underneath part. They're just literally putting something out there, but you're reading more into it. Sometimes the way we feel in how we feel somebody's words, our interpretation will be off. And so we will have a story that we tell ourselves about the other person's behavior. You got to be careful with that. It doesn't mean that we're not always right, but if we have lost the ability to check ourselves in the present moment and really ask ourselves, is that a true story we're telling ourselves? If we have lost the ability to ask our partner, ask our maybe our boss or something, to really get to the bottom and really challenge, is that a true thing, or is this really accurate because this is the way I'm perceiving this? When we have lost that ability, and there's really that relationship is hindered because we are holding somebody to an old story and we don't even know if it's true yet. By practicing the present moment aspect of appreciation, it trains us that in the moment, when that other person isn't around, or if things are actually, doing whatever, that we test ourselves, we challenge ourselves to counter the negative rumination with a positive aspect of that individual, and to not worry about the past, and to not have future anxiety about what we assume is going to happen. How many times have you thought about a relationship in your life and you just think you know how they're going to behave? Well, right there would be an awesome opportunity to practice present moment appreciation, to try to reframe how you are perceiving that individual. All right, so interpersonal appreciation, present moment appreciation. I talked about the ritual appreciation, taking a particular time each day to get in the moment and really put yourself in a state of mind to go through the list in your mind about how many things you appreciate in that moment. I went over the self and social comparison, and I compared this to when we are in recovery, and how we can, and really in life, how many times we are so glad that we've come a long way. We're not where we want to be, but we sure as hell ain't where we were. And having that moment of appreciation that we've come through that. I have, being a mom of children, of 3 kids, girls, I am so glad. I am so appreciative. I do not have to go through puberty again. Like, I am so glad. I am so appreciative. I don't have to go through high school again. I remember what that was like, and just that feeling of, whoo, that's appreciation. All right, what's next on the list for the aspect of appreciation? Loss and adversity. The loss and adversity aspect of appreciation is simply using experiences of loss or adversity to promote greater valuing of what one still has, but which previously may have been taken for granted. The adoption of a new reference point, enhanced valuing of ordinary experiences. I like that last sentence, the adoption of a new reference point, enhanced valuing of ordinary experiences. This recent experience I had for me with my elderly mom, because she ended up with COVID in a hospital, and because we had lost dad to that, I had many individuals close to me sympathize and ask me how I was doing. And I've shared many times, sorry to bore you with this, but when it happened with my father, I went through a lot. That was a very stressful time back then. But what I got to share was, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know really, but I've been there, done that once now. And now we've come so far in medicine and perception and things, wearing down. And because I've helped one elderly person and I kind of took on the bulk of an experience already, I had experienced loss on an extreme level that this experience wasn't as traumatic for me. So I had appreciation, a bittersweet appreciation maybe, but appreciation for having been there and done that already. The pain, emotional pain wasn't like it was last time. The stress wasn't like it was last time. I was able to have like pretty much more knowledge about what to do. I wasn't as panicked. I actually, as sad and as hard it was to witness different things, I now know what to do with that type of situation. I now understand how grief may impact me or how stress may impact me. I understand the difference between, or actually just more how to effectively communicate with my children around something like this. So there was this tremendous loss and this tremendous adversity that I went through. And yet today I get to look at that as just a state of appreciation for having a whole new experience now that I'm facing something that's kind of in that same ballpark. So have you ever experienced something of significant loss and adversity where you've come through it, and now there's just an appreciation for having been there and done that? That is what that particular aspect is all about. And when that happens and you have a new reference point, it's kind of like we didn't need to go as low as I did before. I have a new reference point now. And now this new reference point makes things that much more doable, able to walk through them in appreciation versus dread, in not anticipating anxiety, but understanding and compassion in this situation for myself and for others. I kind of have a playbook now, that kind of thing. All right, so the next appreciation aspect is, second here. Actually, before I jump into that one, it's going to be on quote unquote, have focus. But before I dive into that, I'm going to take our final break to come back and talk about the last few aspects of appreciation. If you are looking for a coach or wanting to get in touch with me, feel free to reach out at my website at susandenee.com, or you can message me on any of my social media platforms at Susan Denee. Know you're crazy. Be back shortly. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Know You're Crazy Talk Show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. Today I'm talking about the 8 aspects of appreciation, simply the joy and satisfaction of noticing others and the satisfaction that we get from others, the joy that we get from life, taking notice of that, and really feeling appreciative of what's going on in our life. And the good thing about that, when we're in a state of appreciation, more shall come, more shall come. So now in the last segment of the show, I've got 3 of these that I'm going to be covering with you. And if I've got time, I'll go through the list one more time before the show is done. All right, starting out. So the next one, the next appreciation aspect that I'm covering is quote unquote to have focus. The have focused appreciation aspect involves noticing, focusing on, and valuing what one has. This attentional focus on what one has counters the tendency to take positive aspects of one's life for granted. This one, I will say, this one's really worked for me over the last few years. When I go from a corporate world job, 25 years in one industry, and make a change into another field, and simultaneously during that time, having my life at times feel like it turned upside down for numerous reasons, unexpected. This right here, the have focus of what is present in my life, really has helped keep my sanity when the negative self-talk can kick in, right? It's the sitting and being appreciative of and I mentioned it earlier in the show, of what I have in my life, the loving relationships that I have in my life, the friends that I have in my life, like really truly having a moment of feeling appreciative for that, and focusing and noticing and valuing what I have, whether that's, the roof over my head. I've got a Toyota car, a 2009. God bless that car. It's been back and forth in Nebraska more times than I can count. And it just keeps on it going. 200,000 plus miles. I am so appreciative of that car. Like, I am so glad that car's taken me back and forth, because I don't know about you, I get tired of dumping money into cars. It's just, they depreciate right away. It's like, it's all this added hurdle. I just kind of I like stuff to stick around for a while. So I'm so appreciative of that. But that is an example. I could get in a mindset of, oh, I need something more materialistic. I need something nicer. I deserve more. I could go down that road. But honestly, at the end of the day, I am so appreciative of that. That is something that I have in my life. And you think about the have focus of what is going on around you and who you have in your life, that is the appreciation aspect of quote unquote have focus. The next one is actually one of my favorites. It's the appreciation aspect of awe. AWE, the feeling of awe or wonder in response to beauty, nature, or life itself. Awe is associated with the elements of well-being and physical well-being, associated with greater life satisfaction. I think this right here, when I go back to Nebraska, I usually stay in a hotel. In this particular hotel, you got the front of the hotel and you're looking at the parking lot and you're looking at the interstate and, maybe a few restaurants. But the back of the hotel is like a cornfield. And if I get a room in the back of the hotel with the window, I get to see the sunrise. And the other thing about this view is when you look out there with the beautiful sunrise, Nebraska has beautiful sunrises, you will see the deer come out in the morning and feed on the corn, right? And so I always request to have my room face that back, because in those moments in the mornings, as I'm, confronting tough situations, maybe with my mom or whatever the fluctuation is there, I get to wake up and I get to appreciate and I get to sit in awe of nature. I get to sit in the awe of God's beauty. And I get to be reminded of how everything just keeps moving forward and how everything is really okay. But to see the beauty of nature, the same thing, and a lot of times I'll drive back and forth that trip just because I get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery, and have that time in the car to either decompress or listen to podcasts or really just get centered. I don't see it as a drag at all to drive that. I actually enjoy the drive. but the beauty and the scenery of that. I like waking up in the mornings and seeing the awe and the reverence in my dogs, my puppies, right? As they wake up and they're full of innocence and love and connectedness, and they all they want to do is love you. That's all they want to do. Oh, and eat. They want to eat. But to take that moment of awe and to sit and appreciate just how they work, like sitting out and seeing even the birds that come in the front yard and really just watching. Sometimes they come closer or not so close, and just appreciating that about nature. This week I've been known to look up, like being in Nebraska where everything's flat, and right now it's brown. They do have beautiful sunrises, but they don't have a lot of trees. I mean, they do, but they don't, right? Not like here. And so just recently coming out of my neighborhood, I've been reminding myself to look up, because when you look up, you see all these beautiful evergreen trees, and you see this beautiful blue sky. And just like we are literally living in a forest that was just, all these houses were built in a forest. And you look up and you can appreciate that and feel it. And so that is the awe aspect of appreciation. The feeling of awe or wonder in response to beauty, nature, or life itself. And you can tap into that anytime you want. You can tap into that whenever you go outside. And if you have animals, or even, you can tap into that. All right, the last appreciation aspect that I'm going to cover is, and this is one that we're usually used to, in fact, you'd hear this one before you hear appreciation often, is gratitude. The feeling of a grateful emotion directed towards one's benefactor in response to kindness or benefits received, such as help, a gift, or an opportunity, or even attempts to provide them. The recipient's level of gratitude towards the benefactor can be influenced by the perceived motive of the benefactor, the benefits to the recipient, and the cost to the benefactor. So what all does that mean? That just means I'm grateful for everything that I have. It's like a past tense, right? I'm grateful for what my family does for me. I'm grateful for the fact that they're able to hold the fort down, per se, when I'm not here. Not that they really need my help when I am here, but it just makes me feel better to say that. I'm grateful for my friends. There's a group of us women that we connected daily on this old school Marco Polo app, but it's fun, and I'm grateful to have that connection with those ladies every day. I'm grateful for AA meetings. I'm grateful for the recovery community. I'm grateful that I can take my crazy ass into a meeting and feel right at home and be at peace with myself and with others. I'm grateful that I've come this far with mental health and emotional well-being. I'm grateful that I have a platform that I get to share on today and maybe help somebody. I'm grateful if you're watching the show today. I'm grateful that that everything just keeps moving forward. Life is meant to move forward. It's not going to go backward. What happened yesterday stays yesterday. Today is today. There's nothing more to do than to build forward and to move forward. I'm grateful for refreshness and for second winds, right? So often, especially with, I don't know, where I'm at in life, I often don't have as much energy as I used to, and I want to analyze that and I want to judge it, but I'm grateful that I still wake up and have breath in my lungs. And so gratitude is also a fantastic practice, but it's considered one of the appreciation aspects. It's one of the 8 appreciation aspects. So I'm going to go through them real quick for you as a wrap up. Okay, your 8 appreciation aspects are interpersonal appreciation, valuing, appreciating the others in one's life and expressing that to them. Your present moment aspect of appreciation consists of focusing on the positive elements of the present moment with mindfulness awareness. You're going to be countering the tendency to ruminate on the negative events of the past or worry about the future in ways that rob the relationship of the present. That's the present moment appreciation aspect. Your ritual appreciation aspect is simply using personal or religious rituals, routines, and practices to remind oneself to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of life. The self and social comparison aspect is simply when you're able to notice you're not where you want to be, maybe, but you weren't where you were. Sometimes you will also feel this when you look at others who are less fortunate than you, and you will feel appreciative of what you do have. There's always someone who might not have it as good as you do. There's always someone who might be suffering more than you. And that's not a bad thing to recognize that, but be appreciative of what you have in your life. The loss and adversity appreciation, in the same ballpark as the self-social comparison, I believe, but it's when we use experiences of loss in our past and we can find out that what we're going through right now isn't that bad and that we too can get through this. I often share it with people in sobriety if they're struggling is, if you got sober, you can get through this. Like there's not much we can't do if we've gotten sober, because that takes a lot of life transitioning. The have focus aspect of appreciation involves focusing on and valuing what you have, taking notice of it. The awe aspect of appreciation is simply just sitting in awe and reverence of nature and what's going on around you. It's the beauty, it's the way the flow of the universe works. It's a tapping into that source energy, in my opinion, but it's taking notice of just with the awe and the presence, okay? And lastly, the last aspect of appreciation is gratitude. Gratitude for what someone has done for you, gratitude for things that you have. I like to think gratitude is kind of a past tense and appreciation is the present tense. All right, if you have not been in an appreciative mood, hopefully this show helped to get you there. I want to thank you for joining me today. Once again, if you'd like to contact me, feel free to reach out to my website at susandenee.com or message me through any of my social media platforms at Susan Denee. Having said that, that is a wrap. Have a fantastic evening, and thank you for joining me. You have been listening to No, You're Crazy.
Crazy.
And my name is Susan Denee. We are identifying, understanding, and treating your crazy one episode at a time. Tune in to transformationtalkradio.com. To connect with me or Growth Spurt Your Life, please visit susandenee.com. That's Susan Denee, DENEE.com.